In the vast expanse of the Andromeda Milky Way Coalition, first speaker Naira Valen stood before the Grand Council, her crystalline form reflecting the soft ambient light of the chamber. The message that had arrived at their quantum arrays less than a cycle ago had thrown the entire coalition into chaos. After 40 millennia of silence, something had stirred in the dead zone, the region once known as the Sol system. The signal's authenticity has been confirmed, Naira announced, her voice echoing through the chamber. It bears the quantum signature of the Terminal Defense Network, humanity's last creation before their extinction. The council chamber erupted in murmurs. The Terminal Defense Network was legendary, a system so advanced that even after 40,000 years, no species had fully decoded its principles. The humans had built it in their final days, as their civilization crumbled before an unstoppable force they never named in their records. High Commander Zextar of the militant Concordat rose from his seat, his scales shifting from deep blue to a concerned purple. What does the message say? First speaker. Naira activated the holographic display, and a series of complex equations filled the air. It's a warning, encrypted in quantum mathematics. Our best cryptologists have been working on it since it arrived. The message itself is simple, but the data packet accompanying it. She paused, her crystalline structure pulsing with anxiety. It contains coordinates and a timestamp. Something is coming. The quantum mathematics floating in the air slowly resolved into a single phrase. They have aid what would a key. The VEILFALs. Prepare. In the observation deck of the Coalition flagship, Dawn's Reach, Science Director Dr. Kira Chen watched the proceedings through a secure feed. As the last known human in the galaxy, she had spent centuries carefully hiding her identity, working her way through the Coalition's scientific ranks. The signal's arrival wasn't a surprise to her. She had been waiting for it. Her great-great-grandmother had been among the few who escaped Earth's final days, carrying with her the truth of what had really happened. The history books spoke of humanity's extinction, but they had not died out. They had scattered, hidden themselves among the stars, waiting for this very moment. Signal analysis complete, Director. Her AI assistant, Era, announced quietly. The quantum signature matches the profiles in your family archives. It's genuine. Kira nodded, her aged fingers tracing the ancient pendant around her neck, a quantum storage device containing the true history of humanity's last days. Begin protocol awakening, ARI. It's time to wake the others. Deep in the restricted sectors of Coalition space, in a region marked as gravitationally unstable on all official maps, the first of humanity's sleeping outposts began to stir. The signal had reached them too, transmitted through quantum channels established millennia ago. In cryo chambers and time-locked vaults, the descendants of Earth's survivors began to awaken. High Commander Zextar's voice drew Kira's attention back to the council feed. We must mobilize the fleet. If something managed to trigger the Terminal Defense Network after all this time, the fleet won't be enough. Naira interrupted, her crystalline form pulsing with urgency. The data packet contains historical records we've never seen before. The humans, they weren't fighting an enemy we could understand. They were fighting something that existed between reality and void, entities they called the Void Hierarchs. The chamber fell silent. The term was unknown to most, but Kira felt a chill run down her spine. The stories passed down through generations of her family spoke of them. Beings that had evolved beyond the constraints of normal space-time, who saw the universe as nothing more than resources to be consumed. In her private quarters later that cycle, Kira activated her quantum communicator, a device that appeared to be nothing more than a decorative bracelet to Coalition scanners. The signal has been received. Are the others ready? We've confirmed awakening sequences in all 12 hidden outposts, a voice responded. Another survivor, positioned elsewhere in Coalition space. The legacy protocol is active. Should we proceed with revelation? Kira looked out at the stars, thinking of Earth, not as the dead world it had become, but as it had been in the stories passed down through her family. The blue oceans, the green forests, the cities that stretched to the skies. All of it lost, but not forgotten. Never forgotten. Not yet, she replied. Let them discover the truth gradually. The Coalition needs to understand what they're truly facing before we reveal ourselves. The Void Hierarchs won't just be fighting a scattered, extinct humanity this time. They'll be facing a galaxy united, if we play this right. As she spoke, ancient defense systems began to power up throughout Coalition space. Systems that had been hidden in plain sight for millennia, disguised as natural phenomena or astronomical anomalies. Humanity had never truly left. They had simply been preparing, waiting for the moment when their ancient enemy would return. The signal was just the beginning. 40,000 years ago, humanity had faced the Void Hierarchs alone and had been forced to scatter across the stars. This time would be different. This time, the galaxy would stand together, whether they knew it yet or not. In the darkness between the stars, something stirred. The Void Hierarchs had sensed the activation of the Terminal Defense Network, felt the quantum ripples of humanity's warning spreading across the galaxy. After 40 millennia of searching, they had finally found their prey again. But they did not understand what waited for them. A humanity that had spent 40,000 years preparing, and a galaxy that would soon learn the truth about their supposedly extinct predecessors. The game was about to begin again, but this time, the rules had changed. Deep within the Horsehead Nebula, in a region of space that Coalition maps marked as radiation-saturated, the hidden outpost of New Terra stirred to life. What appeared to most scanners as random energy fluctuations was actually a massive shield network powering up for the first time in centuries. Inside the shield perimeter, a city of 10 million humans was waking from their temporal stasis. Marcus Santos, security chief of New Terra, watched as the stasis pods systematically deactivated across the city's 100 levels. The signal they'd all been waiting for had finally arrived. On his neural display, status reports flowed in from the other 11 outposts scattered throughout the galaxy. They were all awakening, right on schedule. All systems nominal, his AI assistant reported. Quantum shielding at full capacity. The Coalition's sensor nets still read us as a standard radiation anomaly. Marcus nodded, his augmented eyes scanning through layers of data. The humans of New Terra weren't just survivors. They were the product of 40,000 years of careful genetic engineering and technological advancement, all conducted in absolute secrecy. Every child born in the hidden outpost had been enhanced, prepared for the war they always knew would come. Status report from Dr. Chen. His neural link chimed. Kira's face appeared in his mind's eye, her expression grave. The Coalition Council is mobilizing their fleets, but they don't understand what they're truly facing. We need to accelerate the timeline. The Genesis ships are ready, Marcus replied, referring to the massive vessels hidden within the nebulous clouds. But revealing ourselves now, are you sure the Coalition is prepared for that truth? They don't have a choice. The Void Hierarchs are already here. In the Coalition Council chamber, First Speaker Naira Valen was reviewing the latest sensor data when the alarms began. Across Coalition space, quantum fluctuations were being detected, identical to the original signal signature. But these weren't messages. These were massive energy signatures, appearing in regions previously thought uninhabitable. High Commander, one of the sensor operators called out, their voice shaking. We're detecting ships, thousands of them, appearing out of nowhere. They're using technology similar to the Terminal Defense Network. Zextar's scales shifted to a battle-ready red as he studied the tactical displays. The ships were unlike anything in Coalition records, smooth, dark hulls that seemed to absorb light, with designs that somehow felt both alien and familiar. And they were massive, each one easily dwarfing the largest Coalition battlecruisers. In her quarters aboard the Dawn's Reach, Kira Chen removed her Coalition uniform for the last time. Beneath it, she wore the sleek battlesuit that marked her true rank, fleet commander of the human resistance. The pendant around her neck wasn't just a storage device. It was a key, meant to unlock humanity's greatest weapons. ARIA, initiate full revelation protocol, she commanded. It's time to show the Coalition who we really are. Across Coalition space, hidden quantum transmitters activated. In every major city, every military installation, and every Coalition ship, holographic messages appeared. The message was simple, but its impact would reshape the galaxy. We are humanity. We never died. We were preparing. On New Terra, Marcus watched as the Genesis ships emerged from their nebula sanctuary. Each vessel carried within it the seeds of a new Earth, terraforming technologies that could transform dead worlds into gardens in months rather than millennia. But they were more than colony ships. They were weapons platforms, carrying within them the most advanced military technology ever created. The Void Hierarchs thought they drove us to extinction. Marcus transmitted to the awakening outposts. They thought we were running away. But every step we took, every world we abandoned, was part of the plan. We scattered ourselves across the galaxy not in defeat, but to prepare for this moment. In the space between realities, the Void Hierarchs sensed the awakening of humanity's hidden strength. They had spent 40 millennia hunting down every trace of human civilization, destroying any sign of their existence. But they had failed. Humanity hadn't just survived. They had evolved. On the Coalition flagship, Zextar watched in awe as the Genesis ships took up defensive positions around major Coalition worlds. The ships moved with impossible grace, their dark hulls now glowing with lines of energy that pulsed like heartbeats. These weren't just warships. They were alive, quantum-organic hybrids that represented a level of technology far beyond anything the Coalition had achieved. First speaker, he said, turning to Naira. I believe we owe Dr. Chen an audience. Kira stood before the Coalition Council, no longer hiding her true nature. Her battlesuit's quantum interface connected directly with the chamber systems, projecting the true history of humanity's apparent extinction. 40,000 years ago, we faced an enemy that existed beyond normal spacetime. We couldn't defeat them, not then. So we chose a different path. We seeded the galaxy with our technology, our knowledge, hidden in plain sight. Every major breakthrough the Coalition has achieved in the past 40 millennia was guided by our hidden hand. The council chamber erupted in a mix of shock, anger, and awe. Everything they thought they knew about their history was being rewritten. The extinct humans hadn't been primitive victims. They had been master strategists playing a game that spanned millennia. The Void Hierarchs are returning, Kira continued. But this time, we're ready. The question is, will the Coalition stand with us? The answer to that question would determine the fate of not just humanity, but all life in the galaxy. The game that had begun 40,000 years ago was entering its final phase, and the pieces were finally in place. The first sign of the Void Hierarch's arrival wasn't visible to normal space. It began as a quantum disturbance, a ripple in reality that the human sensors detected long before Coalition technology could perceive it. The void between stars began to twist, space itself warping as ancient entities stirred from their long hunt. Aboard the Genesis ship Legacy of Terra, Marcus Santos watched as reality tore open before them. The Void Hierarchs emerged not as ships or beings, but as distortions in the fabric of space-time, massive, reality-bending entities that defied conventional physics. Multiple breaches detected, his neural interface reported. They're larger than our historical records indicated. They've evolved. The Void Hierarchs appeared as massive, geometric shapes that seemed to fold in on themselves impossibly, crystalline structures that existed in more dimensions than the human mind could comprehend. Where they passed, space itself became unstable, normal physics breaking down in their wake. In the Coalition Council chamber, Kira Chen's battlesuit interfaced directly with the Genesis ship's sensor network, projecting a real-time display of the invasion. This is what humanity faced 40,000 years ago, she explained, her voice tight with controlled emotion. but we've spent every moment since then preparing for their return. First speaker Nara watched in horror as the first Void Hierarch approached a coalition world. The crystalline entity, massive beyond comprehension, began to feed, not on the planet's resources or life, but on reality itself. The space around the world began to collapse, folding into the entity's impossible geometry. By the ancient stars, High Commander Zextar whispered, his scales pale with fear. How did humanity ever survive an encounter with these beings? We didn't, Kira responded. Activating her quantum interface, we evolved. Across the galaxy, the Genesis ships moved into position. Their dark hulls began to pulse with lines of living light, quantum organic systems activating protocols that had waited millennia to be deployed. From their surfaces, smaller craft emerged, not traditional fighters, but quantum-entangled drones that could operate in the warped space around the Void Hierarchs. On New Terra, Marcus initiated the activation sequence for humanity's greatest weapon, the Reality Anchor Network. For 40,000 years, humans had seeded the galaxy with quantum beacons disguised as natural phenomena. Now, these beacons activated, creating a web of stable space-time that would prevent the Void Hierarchs from completely unraveling reality. All Genesis ships, this is Fleet Commander Chen. Kira's voice echoed across the quantum network. Execute Protocol Prometheus. The Genesis ships began to transform. Their hulls, designed with technology that bridged the gap between organic and mechanical, between normal space and void, reconfigured themselves. Each ship split apart, components rearranging into massive geometric patterns that mirrored the Void Hierarch's own impossible shapes. We didn't just hide from them, Kira explained to the stunned council. We studied them, learned to fight them on their own terms. Every human in the hidden outposts was engineered to perceive and interact with higher dimensions. Every piece of technology we developed was designed to combat beings that exist beyond normal space-time. The first battle began in the Orion sector. A Void Hierarch, its crystalline form distorting space for light years around it, encountered a transformed Genesis ship, the human vessel, now a geometric impossibility itself, engaged the entity in combat that took place across multiple dimensions. To the Coalition observers, it appeared as a dance of impossible shapes, reality itself buckling and warping around the combatants. But to the enhanced humans watching through their quantum interfaces, it was a precise military operation 40 millennia in the making. Coalition forces, Marcus broadcast from New Terra, remain within the Reality Anchor Network's protective field. Your conventional weapons cannot affect the Void Hierarchs, but you can help maintain the stability of space-time within the network. The battle spread across the galaxy as more Void Hierarchs emerged from the void. But unlike 40,000 years ago, they found themselves facing an enemy that had spent millennia preparing for this exact moment. The humans had turned their own existence into a weapon, transforming themselves and their technology to fight a war that took place beyond the boundaries of normal reality. In the space around Coalition worlds, Genesis ships engaged the Void Hierarchs in combat that bent the laws of physics. Quantum-entangled drones swarmed through the distorted space, their enhanced human pilots navigating realities that would drive unmodified minds insane. The Reality Anchor Network pulsed with power, preventing the Void Hierarchs from completely unraveling the fabric of space-time. They're adapting to our tactics, Kira observed, watching through her quantum interface as the Void Hierarchs began to coordinate their attacks, just as we predicted they would. Then it's time for the next phase, Marcus responded from New Terra. Initiate Protocol Lazarus. Across the galaxy, in regions of space that had been declared dead zones, ancient human weapons platforms began to activate. The Terminal Defense Network, which had sent the initial warning, was more than just a communication system. It was the key to humanity's ultimate strategy, a plan 40,000 years in the making. The war that had begun with humanity's apparent extinction was about to enter its final phase. The Void Hierarchs had returned to finish what they started, only to find that their prey had become predator. The galaxy was about to witness the true extent of human ingenuity and determination, and the price of underestimating a species that refused to accept extinction. Protocol Lazarus activated across the galaxy like a cascade of falling stars. Ancient weapons platforms, disguised for millennia as dead worlds and asteroid fields, transformed into massive quantum arrays. Each installation was a piece of humanity's master plan, not just to fight the Void Hierarchs, but to change the fundamental rules of their conflict. All Genesis ships, prepare for Phase 2. Kira Chen's voice echoed across the quantum network. Her battlesuit's interface showed her the full scope of the battle, a multidimensional conflict that normal sensors couldn't fully perceive. The Guardian Protocol is now active. On New Terra, Marcus Santos initiated the final sequence. The city's quantum core, hidden beneath layers of temporal shielding, began to pulse with energy that defied conventional physics. Similar cores activated in all 12 human outposts, their combined power reaching across the galaxy through the Reality Anchor network. What exactly is the Guardian Protocol? First Speaker Nara asked, watching as the human installations transformed the battlefield around them. It's not just a weapon, Kira explained, her augmented eyes tracking energy patterns that normal beings couldn't perceive. It's a fundamental rewrite of local spacetime. Humanity spent 40,000 years studying how the Void Hierarchs interact with reality. Now we're changing the rules of that interaction. The protocol's effects became visible even to conventional sensors. The quantum arrays, powered by the combined energy of 12 outpost cores, began to emit waves of energy that altered the very fabric of space. Where these waves passed, the laws of physics shifted subtly but fundamentally. The Void Hierarchs reacted immediately. Their crystalline forms, which existed partially outside normal spacetime, began to lose their grip on reality. The impossible geometries of their bodies started to conform to more conventional physics, forced into a more limited set of dimensions. They're being anchored, Marcus transmitted from New Terra. 40,000 years ago, we couldn't fight them because they existed beyond our ability to affect them. Now we're forcing them to exist in our reality. The Genesis ships moved into attack formation, their quantum organic hulls pulsing with living light. As the Guardian Protocol took effect, their weapons, designed specifically for this moment, became fully effective against the now vulnerable Void Hierarchs. In the Coalition Council chamber, High Commander Zextar watched in awe as the battle transformed. The Void Hierarchs, once nearly incomprehensible to normal sensors, were now visible as massive but finite entities. Their movements, once impossible to predict or counter, became subject to the same laws of physics that govern normal space. Coalition forces, Kira broadcast, target these coordinates with conventional weapons. The Guardian Protocol has made them vulnerable to normal spacetime interactions. The combined fleet of Coalition ships joined the attack. Their weapons, previously useless against the higher dimensional entities, now found solid targets. The Void Hierarchs, for the first time in their existence, faced enemies that could truly hurt them. But the ancient entities weren't defeated yet. As their higher dimensional abilities were stripped away, they revealed new weapons, technologies and powers developed over eons of evolution. Reality warping beams lashed out at the human and Coalition ships, carrying through shields and hulls. Second wave incoming, Marcus warned as more Void Hierarchs emerged from the void. They're adapting to the protocol faster than we anticipated. The battle intensified. Genesis ships engaged in close combat with the Void Hierarchs, their quantum organic systems allowing them to match the ancient entities' remaining abilities. Coalition ships provided supporting fire, their conventional weapons now effective against the partially anchored beings. But the true power of the Guardian Protocol was only beginning to manifest. As more quantum arrays activated across the galaxy, the fabric of spacetime itself began to shift. The Void Hierarchs found themselves fighting in an environment that increasingly rejected their very nature. Final stage of Protocol Lazarus initiating, Kira announced. The 12 human outposts, their quantum cores now fully powered, began to pulse in perfect synchronization. The reality anchor network, spread across the galaxy, transformed from a defensive grid into something more. What we learned 40,000 years ago, Marcus explained to the coalition leaders, was that we couldn't defeat the void hierarchs in conventional combat. So we spent 40 millennia preparing to change the battlefield itself. The quantum arrays, powered by the outpost cores and synchronized through the reality anchor network, began to generate a new kind of space-time. It spread across the galaxy like a wave, transforming the fundamental nature of reality as it passed. The void hierarchs, beings that existed by manipulating the laws of physics, found those laws turning against them. But victory would come at a price. The quantum cores powering the Guardian Protocol were pushing the limits of what was possible, their energy output threatening to tear apart the very fabric of space-time they were trying to protect. All ships, prepare for final phase. Kira transmitted. What we do next will determine the fate of not just humanity, but all life in the galaxy. The battle had reached its critical point. The void hierarchs, their power diminished but not destroyed, gathered for one final assault. The Genesis ships, their hulls scared but their quantum systems still active, prepared to meet them. And throughout the galaxy, the reality anchor network hummed with power as humanity prepared to execute the final stage of a plan 40,000 years in the making. The final battle began with a pulse of energy that rippled across the galaxy. The 12 quantum cores of humanity's hidden outposts reached critical synchronization, their combined power flowing through the reality anchor network. In the void between stars, space itself began to crystallize, forming patterns that mimic the impossible geometries of the void hierarchs. All Genesis ships execute final attack pattern. Kira Chen commanded from the bridge of the Legacy of Terra. Her battlesuit's quantum interface showed her what normal sensors couldn't, the fundamental transformation of reality taking place around them. Humanity spent 40,000 years preparing for this moment. Make it count. The Genesis ships moved as one, their quantum organic hulls reconfiguring into attack formation. They had been designed not just as vessels of war, but as keys to unlock the full potential of the Guardian Protocol. As they engaged the void hierarchs, their very presence helped stabilize the new physics being imposed on spacetime. On New Terra, Marcus Santos monitored the quantum cores as they pushed beyond their designed limits, core synchronization at maximum. He reported through the neural network. The final phase is ready to begin. The void hierarchs, their higher dimensional abilities constrained by the Guardian Protocol, launched a desperate counterattack. Reality warping energies lashed out at the Genesis ships and Coalition fleet, tearing holes in the fabric of spacetime. But where such attacks would once have been devastating, they now faced resistance from the altered physics of the battlefield. Coalition forces, maintain your positions, High Commander Zextar ordered, his scales shifting through patterns of determination. The humans have given us a chance to fight back. We will not waste it. First Speaker Nara, watching from the council chamber, saw the true scope of humanity's plan unfold. The reality anchor network wasn't just changing local spacetime. It was reformatting the fundamental laws of physics across the entire galaxy. The void hierarchs, beings that had evolved to exploit the malleability of reality, found themselves trapped in a universe that increasingly rejected their very nature. Final stage initiating, Kira announced. The Genesis ships began to pulse with energy that matched the frequency of the quantum cores. What we learned from our defeat 40,000 years ago wasn't just about technology or tactics. We learned that to defeat beings that exist beyond conventional reality, we had to change reality itself. The transformation accelerated. The crystallized space-time patterns spread across the galaxy, creating a new framework of physical laws. The void hierarchs, their impossible geometries now fully constrained, found themselves truly vulnerable for the first time in their existence. But victory would demand its price. The quantum cores were generating more power than they were ever meant to contain. On New Terra and the other outposts, systems began to fail as the energy threatened to tear the installations apart. The cores won't hold much longer, Marcus warned, his neural interface showing cascading failures throughout the network. We need to finish this now. Kira's voice carried across the quantum network, reaching every human ship and installation. All forces, execute final protocol. Everything we've built, everything we've prepared, comes down to this moment. The Genesis ships launched their final attack. Their weapons, designed to operate in the transformed spacetime, struck at the Void Hierarchs with devastating effect. The ancient entities, their higher dimensional abilities now completely suppressed, could no longer simply shift between realities to avoid damage. Coalition ships joined the assault, their conventional weapons now fully effective against the anchored beings. The combined firepower of two civilizations, one ancient and evolved beyond normal spacetime, the other young but determined, focused on the Void Hierarchs. In the chaos of battle, Kira saw through her quantum interface what the sensors couldn't show. The Void Hierarchs were not just being defeated, they were being fundamentally transformed. The new physics being imposed by the reality anchor network wasn't just constraining them, it was changing their very nature. They're being rewritten, she transmitted to the Coalition Council. The same way they once tried to rewrite our reality. We're changing theirs. They'll still exist, but never again as beings capable of unraveling spacetime. The final moments of the battle were marked not by explosive destruction, but by transformation. The Void Hierarchs, their impossible geometries fully constrained by the new physics, began to shift and change. Their crystalline forms, once existing in multiple dimensions, collapsed into structures that could exist in normal spacetime. As the transformation completed, the quantum cores reached their absolute limit. One by one, they began to shut down, their incredible energies spent in the rewriting of reality. The Genesis ships, their hulls scared and systems strained to breaking point, maintained their positions until the last moment, ensuring the changes would become permanent. When it was over, the galaxy had been fundamentally altered. The new physics imposed by the Guardian Protocol had become self-sustaining, creating a universe where beings like the Void Hierarchs could never again pose an existential threat. The ancient entities, now transformed, drifted in space, still massive and powerful, but bound by the same laws of physics as everything else. In the Coalition Council chamber, first speaker Naira turned to Kira. What happens now? Kira removed her battlesuit's helmet, looking out at the transformed galaxy with her augmented eyes. Now we rebuild. Humanity didn't just survive extinction. We transformed ourselves and our reality to ensure it could never happen again. The legacy of Earth isn't just survival. It's the power to change the rules when the game is rigged against you. The Genesis ships began to reconfigure, their quantum organic systems adapting to the new physics they had helped create. The human outposts, their quantum cores now silent, prepared to emerge from hiding. After 40,000 years of preparation and sacrifice, humanity was ready to take its place openly in the galaxy once again. The war was over, but its effects would echo through history forever. The galaxy had witnessed not just the return of a species thought extinct, but the triumph of intelligence and determination over seemingly unstoppable cosmic forces. Humanity's legacy would be written not in their defeat 40,000 years ago, but in their ultimate victory, proof that even the laws of physics themselves could be changed by those determined enough to survive.